Tzili, hi.
Hi, welcome to another Tzuzamen. Welcome to Alon Ophir, a very unique actor and director from
I
Israel.
would say exceptional, but okay.
Exceptional.
Hi there.
And we invited you because we know you were doing and still doing special projects in Israel since the beginning of the war. So tell us a little bit about it, and then we'll take it from there.
Well, this October the 7th took us all by surprise. I woke up 6:30 in the morning to the sound of the siren, and I knew that the routine has broken. And I don't have a mamad, I don't have a shelter,
We
so
don't.
I hid under the bed with a lot of pillows above me. But then something went off from the way we used to go. Suddenly, all kind of messages that intruders came in and the terrorists are occupying our settlements and our cities, and it got a turn, a very sharp turn. And in the next few days, all the civilian organizations started to get up and help, bring food, bring equipment. And of course, all the shows were canceled and all the artists stayed at home. And I felt like I
Or
must
join the army.
all join the army. Yes, a lot of us.
Drafted, right.
And I sat at home and I felt I can't go on sitting at home. I need to do something. So I texted all my friends if we want to form a unit, an entertaining unit, to go to the hotels because we couldn't get into the settlements themselves. It was very risky.
But just a
lot of
second,
people
we're talking about the hotels that all the civilians were
Replaced.
evacuated.
they were evacuated from their communities and brought to the center of Israel in hotels.
And also the idea of
We
groups is a long tradition in Israel when we had a lot of, especially in the army, groups who went from one unit to another, but now,
Yes,
go to one hotel
yes.
and another was the following.
Yeah.
But the scale of the evacuation was something that we didn't experience
Experience.
before. And thousands of people left their homes,
Tens
and
of
we need to
thousands.
find housing. Tens of thousands. We need to find housing. So not only the people in the front lines. I mean, some of the people were evacuated because their settlements were attacked physically by the terrorists, and they are the front
And
line of the
destroyed.
evacuation and destroyed. And some of the people are just not to be in danger. They evacuated just for safety.
Right.
They didn't encounter the trauma so close. So when we started performing to these hotels, there was a huge difference between the people who were evacuated just for safety and the people who were evacuated because they were there. Their trauma was much stronger and deeper, and you could see it and feel it in their eyes. A lot of my friends text me back, and I joined two teams of entertaining units to go to the hotels. One of them was the safety things, the safety people that came from the north, who wasn't attacked yet. And one performance was in front of people that were there in the attack. And we started to think, what are we bringing? What are we singing? What are we saying? There are people with a lot of sadness in them, and we didn't know if our job was to give expression to this sadness or to lift them up with happy songs. But if you sing a happy song and it might hurt someone who doesn't feel so happy, so we had to find a balance of the lineup we are forming. Some songs were written on the page and then were kicked out because they were too happy. And some songs have even too much sadness in them, and we don't want them to, go deeper in
And
their.
we are very good at keeping all these war songs since 48. We have a lot of
Yes, and it was
songs that
huge
became like,
about peace and war and loss and
right,
hope.
right, right, and
Uh,
grieving.
our culture is very rich with this kind
Yeah,
Very bloody.
yeah,
but also what we say, we because you can't tell a joke, you don't know you're stepping on eggs all the time because you don't want to hurt anyone in their grief. Furthermore, they are living in a room. A family
right. For
lives
5,
in
6,
one room with children and sometimes
and
dogs and
dogs.
cats. And we met them after they were there for weeks. A hotel can be a nice vacation location to be in for a week. But if you live with your whole family for a month in one room, that changes your atmospheric personality, the way you behave, and the way you accept art.
Right.
Um, I remember I still have goosebumps when I think of it. Um, the show with the people that were there in that trauma was the most difficult one because they stared at us. They didn't watch a performance. They just stared at us with glazy look. And song by song, they start to open up and their lips start to move. And suddenly you hear some of the songs are
Um,
sang out loud. There is an Israeli song which has a Yemen tune to it. It's called "I Have a Little Bird in My Heart," and
יש
the
פה
chorus
קטנה
goes
בלב.
nine 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 nine
Yeah,
nine
right,
nine 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 nine
right.
nine nine nine, and I started to sing the chorus, and a very old guy sitting in the front lines with his cane on the floor, who didn't change his expression the whole performance. He was staring like like
Like
a
a dog.
statue.
Right.
Suddenly, his cane started giving me the beat to the song. With the
Wow.
cane, he was singing and starting to beat like that. And slowly by slowly, he was starting singing with me. Of course, I stepped out of the stage and went to sit with my microphone near him and try to cheer how do you
Cheer him
say it,
up.
Cheer him
Cheer
up.
him up.
cheer him up. And he was singing with me full voice by the end of the song. And I felt, these shows are not about technicalities. The equipment is bad. The acoustics is not great
And you
for
are not
art.
Pavarotti.
And I'm not Pavarotti, but the atmosphere was something out of this world. And after the show was over and everybody came, they came crying to hug us and to thank us because we gave them a channel to express their deepest feelings, and we gave them a bit of hope that something
I
can
wonder
be
about the
better.
hope side of it.
No, it helps, but there's something that I always think about it, the meeting point between the situation and the outcome. Because you have those who run the country and so easy go to war, do things, they send everybody, they relocate people. And then there's a situation and you come from the other side and I say, I'll sing for them. Their life were destroyed. And
Therefore, I'm not sure about the hope.
so there's something beautiful about
It's
the fact that you can help a bit, but there's something that always annoys me about the irresponsibility of those who create situations, and then the little that we can do in order to put some color into the life of those who lost the light. And it always rubbing one another.
Yeah, but but they paid attention to the fact that the ones who came and tried to give them hope was not the government,
No,
was not
that's what I'm
yes,
the country, it was
I
private
want to
people.
express
Yeah, that's why I'm
in
saying.
in the first days of the war, I think the people in the government were shocked. Nothing was
Don't give them
decided,
grace.
nothing was
Don't give them
done.
grace. We were all
And
you were in shock.
no, but the citizens, the organizations,
Right.
really caught themselves very soon, and the
But they
civilians
don't have
started
really the tools.
to
At
take
a
care to
certain
each
Alon,
point,
other.
no tools.
but Alon, beyond the shock and beyond the surprise, which is also annoying. There is something that once they started to do things, they did for themselves, or
Of course.
not for the people that pay the price
Right.
because of their actions. So it basically left, and Israelis are very good about it and very known for it. Just get up and do their thing. So then the government can take care of itself forever because everybody else is doing their job.
But the option of not doing anything and leaving it all to the government was not an option because most
I
of us know.
understand. Absolutely.
But you know,
Even the teams that we formed, no one organized us.
right.
No one arranged it. It was very private between our team and the hotel, and we phoned and asked, "Do you need us? Where do you need us?" There was a civilian center of phone calls to direct the help, equipment there, show there, food over there, and we started to form our own organization. And about hope, Tzipi, hope is you can measure hope for long term. You can measure hope for just this minute.
No, yeah,
I think
I
I
speak
think
about
if you
long term.
sing a song, if you
No,
sing a
they
song
went for now.
for 3 minutes,
Right.
they felt
Give a break.
something like hope. That is
Yeah, right.
valuable to me,
I
even
agree
though
with
that
you.
an hour afterward they will look at the reality and then
Yeah, but you know,
Just to
you
get a
speak,
break.
yeah, but you know, it's impossible to comprehend, I mean, to really understand how for 76 years or whatever, seemingly we thought that the country cares for us, that our society is based on solidarity in a way, unless you were, I mean, most of us, and it was not naivete. We actually, all of us believed, although you were much more involved, you know, through this political movement, human
yeah.
rights movement, but suddenly look what happened in 2 years. The year prior to the war, and then, of course, this year now. How can everything just fell apart like this? And all the
I will tell
best
you why.
and everything came out in such a force.
You said we used to think that the country will take care and the country will take.
Right.
That's your word, so I want to address that. What I discovered that we have three people now in amongst us. It's not the country; it's the government of that one and the representative of that one, and
There are
suddenly
divisions.
we felt the division on our flesh. And I want to tell you that for many years I was an actor, only an actor. And the Israeli theater does not sit in one place. It always tours around the country, and all the shows go everywhere, north, south. And as an actor, I learned my audience according to the way the jokes they are laughing from, what moved them, what annoys them. And there was only 10% of margins, but the most of the audience was in the middle
The
80%
center. Yeah.
that understood your language and understood your humor. Besides the 10% there and 10% there were the fringes of the audience. And when I started to direct, I wanted to speak to the audience I'm directing for, because as a director, I'm not there in the auditorium. I'm only sending the show away. And during the years, I discovered that I have to direct three shows completely different.
Oh,
One show of the same play for the North, one show of the
wow.
same play for the South, and one show of the same play just for the Tel Avivians, which are like different countries.
Different animal. Yeah.
The jokes are different. The codes are becoming
As
I never
small as
thought, I never
Israel,
thought about
as
it.
small as Israel is, the differences between the regions and the areas and the population is very big, and they take it very differently. So it's very interesting, but it's true, and it happens like in spaces of half an hour from the center
Yes,
to
But
the other
tell me
place.
something.
in London, you could see it, you could hear it by the dialect of the English. You could distinguish the zones of people. Here we speak the same language, the same slang, but different
Almost the
codes,
same slang because each area has a tiny different
a tiny
It's not
difference.
slang.
significant, but
It's
you
significant. It's
when
significant
we
because they
chose,
carry something else. And it's like you avoid this, like you say only the last 2 years. It's the last 20 years and more.
we didn't see.
Things were planted. You have to look well.
Except from the Ashkenazic and the
Things-
Sephardic, we didn't feel much.
no, there are
Things
a
were
lot
planted many
it's
years
religious,
ago.
non-religious, and
Not on purpose.
traditionalist, and it has many colors. And when we chose the songs for the hotel performances, we also had to think that people came from zones that there were no connection between them. From Ashkelon in the south and from Kiryat Shmona in the north, they're suddenly in the same hotel, and suddenly you could see which songs are for them, which songs are for them.
Makes me
And
very
I think
sad.
this big event, this trauma we experienced, uncovered the diversion, how to say,
Yeah, the
um,
differences, division.
the differences, division. It revealed how deep the division is amongst us, and it was very sad to experience that. Even today, I tell you, when I'm working and I'm meeting Israelis, I sometimes feel strange to them, and sometimes feel like they're my family, and the extreme emotions are impossible to grasp.
You know, there are very few, if you look at the map of the Israeli actors through the years, when you think about somebody that can unite everybody, there are very few
David
that
Rebach.
we
Very
can
few.
really point and say, this is good for everyone.
The
This is
folklorist.
good for everyone.
More than Zevik Levach, I think Yossi Banai and
Right.
Hagashasha Piver
Yeah, right.
could really
They
take
knew their
Israel
audience.
agenda.
They
few.
wrote for the. But I want to ask you a question. Is the main theaters, like the National Theater, like a Kameri, when they go to different places, they select the place that they are bringing?
No.
Like, will they
It's
will.
not working like this.
I'm asking him if they. Now,
It's not
I
working.
know. The place
The
is
system works
choosing.
different.
I know.
The
But the
system
question,
works
they're
like
choosing
that.
Shakespeare, for example. I mean, let's say the towns of immigrants in the north. They can choose what they
Well,
want the theater to
I
bring.
can tell you from the days that I used to travel with them everywhere, they were waiting for us. They saw everything.
My question is specific.
They were waiting for us. They saw everything. They wanted
That's
to be
good.
part of
Okay,
everything.
that's good.
I know the connection you are talking about, Tzipi. I will explain you how it works. The artistic management decides to do 5 productions, and they choose a comedy, a musical, a classical, and a new Israeli thing, and they produce it. And then the buyers from
Right.
outside the city, they come to a special show, and if they want it, they
They
take it.
take it.
If they think that it's not for their
They don't
people,
take
What do
it.
you
they
mean
don't
it's
take it.
not for their audience, for example?
That it won't work.
I was given
That's
a
what I'm
note
asking.
after
What?
one of my shows. One of the buyers of the people of the committee that came to see, I asked her, no, will you take us? Will we meet you in, I don't know, Carmiel? She said, I don't think so. It's not for my audience. It's too sophisticated,
That's what
and
I
there's
hope.
a bit
That's
much,
what I'm
too much.
afraid of, this answer.
Even nudity. I mean, I never performed in nudity when I was an actor, but I don't like to direct a plays with nudity.
We
I
don't have
feel,
many of them in Israel, nudity.
and with the
But
less.
language we do.
No, I had a very funny show about the right wing and about politics. It was called Kizuz, and it was the farce about the Israeli politicians. But the first scene, uh, politician from the left, politician from the right were having an affair, and then the first scene, they were out of their bed with the sheets on them, like
Okay.
they finished the love making.
Yeah.
And I was asked to dim the lights on that scene so the situation will be not, and nothing was shown,
Yes,
only
it's clear.
shoulders. So nowadays, the artistic management they know what might work with the buyers and what might not work with the buyers, and they are starting choosing the repertoire
So
according
it's
to the audience.
self-censorship almost. In
Yes.
censorship, but not just for the army, but in general.
But
But I tell you, the last year it was very difficult because I tell you there are 3 or 4 different audiences amongst us, and if someone buys your show there, someone will not buy your show in the other area. So
that's another story, because I think that in general, the Israeli audience was great and very open and very welcoming. But and I can tell you about a crowd in Tel Aviv even that didn't like certain things. But
yeah,
once the war went to the streets and the change in the system started to bite strong, then there was war. It became a war zone on every front. And then you see really the black hole between the divisions in Israel.
But but it's really
yeah.
shattering because the only place or events that we are all together, one country, incredible solidarity, is when a soldier fail. When we
Yes.
grieve with the grieving thing,
And
united,
even
it's a
nowadays, we are
fantastic.
debating whether we are normalizing these news every day, because
We
when you hear
don't.
for a
We
year,
are
But
not. No, no, no.
guys,
People are
I'm
still.
sorry to tell you that as much as we are united when we grieve, we are not the same, because the families of the hostages are being
yes,
attacked by
I
other
talked about
people.
grieving on the soldiers
It's
who are being
really,
killed. I didn't talk about the hostages because this is a
but
different
some of
I,
story.
the hostages are
but
hostages
Phil is right.
that
The
fight.
solidarity
I'm
has
talking about the
broken.
soldiers, the 800 soldiers that were killed now during the war. And when they hear in the news a soldier fell, in the battleground, we are all united. I don't speak about the hostages because it's really changed.
I don't think it's the same.
You know,
Something
Uh,
very different
but
lately.
even this solidarity, Tzipi, one of the government's methods is to separate between the soldiers and their commanders. And we
right.
all love the soldiers who fight, but the commanders are working against us, and they are starting to put
Yeah,
division in
yeah.
the
They are
army.
reframing our attitude to a lot of things. The
And
army, the justice.
you know,
Um,
another thing I've learned during this year, I was always being criticized because I did a lot of comedies in my work, and comedies are underrated. People look from above about the comedy artists because it's
Maybe
a
it's a
long
low
genre.
level. Yeah.
Yes,
the hardest
they
thing to
don't
do,
understand.
the hardest thing to
They
write,
don't
the hardest thing
understand
to.
that the craftsmanship in doing a comedy is much higher
Of
than
course.
any
Yeah, it's much more
drama. But
difficult.
what I discovered is that today I know that the audience in Israel, they want to sing and they want to laugh. They want to escape the news.
Of
And
course.
if they go out, they want to see something nice that
Right.
will make them laugh and will make them sing. And comedy, with all its faults, is the most unifying genre of the theater, because you can watch a drama in an empty auditorium and you can be moved and you can cry and you can
Not in
enjoy a
comedy.
show in an empty auditorium. But in comedy, you
Right.
need the people with you.
Right.
The more you have, the
Easier and
bigger the laugh.
releasing to laugh with
And
everybody, not
it's a
alone.
very unifying genre for in the theater. And suddenly I raised my head a bit, I start to show off. I'm doing comedies and it's good for the health
But
of our
I
people.
wonder if comedies or even satire, once they will touch the reality now, like we have a show, it's called The Beautiful Country, Eretz Nehederet, and now they really
Yeah.
moved to much
This is a TV
darker,
show.
the TV show, but now moved to a much darker look at reality. And I wonder
Because
if people are not angry at them.
no, because the reality is so crazy that if you have to put it on TV in a sketch, you have to rise above the
What is going
reality.
on?
The characters in real life are so extreme that you don't know how to exaggerate. I did a comedy called Chemdat Yamim, Chemdat Avot, just before the COVID. And Miri Regev,
The prime
form of Miri
education
Regev,
The
minister.
Minister of Culture.
she was culture then, and she was the Minister
She's
of
terrible
Culture.
all the time.
And the actress, because it was a farce, tried to do it a bit bigger than life because, it's a comedy. But bigger than life in Miri Regev's case is something you cannot watch. I
Right.
mean, it
It's too
went
much.
too
It's too
much for
much.
us. So I understand that people are trying to give an angle to the reality. You can't put in a comedy the reality itself. So you say it's going darker. I think they're trying to find the aspects to
Right.
present
Yeah.
I
present
think also,
their
Not easy.
I think that the noise around us and the reality around us is so loud and there's so much that you really need a very, very, very strong voice to break through to get to the other side.
otherwise you
Then
otherwise you don't notice it.
That's right.
So what's happening in the theaters? There is enough audience now because they're not afraid of like sirens in the middle or going home.
A lot of
Caught in the middle?
shows in the north are cancelled.
Yeah.
They are being
Well, of
scheduled and
course,
then cancelled.
of course.
Before I came to New York with Mipi Shamira Imber, I was working on a show for Akko Festival, who was
Hacker,
meant to take place in Sukkot, but the situation in Accra
It's dangerous.
there
You
was no
cannot protect the audience in some
you
areas.
there you don't have shelters for these kind of numbers,
Yeah.
and we canceled it and we postponed it to April to Passover, and we hope that until then things will settle down. But a lot of shows are being canceled,
Right.
and even the choosing of the repertoire of the theaters has changed from what they declared. A lot of things they said they would do, they are not doing, and new projects are coming up surprise by surprise because they understand they have to sell. Because if a theater cannot sell, it
Because
will
if
not.
there are missiles, they have to close. That everything it can get canceled in 2 minutes. So they cannot put too much money into production and doesn't have any income in case of. So you have to make it easier.
What about the
And, you know,
children? What about the theater for children? Because this is
they
a
are working.
catastrophe. The state of the children in Israel is a catastrophe.
But the theaters in for children are more flexible with the technicalities. They can go to a classroom
Yeah,
and perform, so they don't need to gather all the children in one
in
place.
a
They are
theater.
moving from one center to one center, and they give them not the best shows. I mean, technically not the highest standard of productions, but they give them a good show and a good time, and they keep them, above water. Um,
But
I'll
Alon,
give
I
you
want
a
to
funny
go back a
story.
little bit to the hotels and to your project. Did you have, did people open up to you? Did they try to talk to you guys or share with you or ask certain things for you to perform with? What took,
Yes, we got a lot of requests for songs, and we were flexible enough to pull up the words and do it. But after the show, we didn't wrap the equipment, and when we sat there with them, and we heard stories about what they've been through. And sometimes we take the guitar outside. The show was over, but we opened the piano and start, after the show, we continue listening to stories, singing songs that were not planned, giving them the microphone to sing, and they were crying, and so were we. You can't hold your tears with this
Is the
kind of
theater
experience.
competing around the world, do you think? Competing with all the other media and the streaming and the gaming, and is it because I just saw yesterday that a lot of shows here on Broadway are closing, and some of them are quite new. So I was wondering if the theater is still can compete with
I
all the
think it's
venues.
all the above, but also it's very expensive here.
All right.
Very expensive, and you have less tourists, and you have American tourists, and not everybody can afford the prices of Broadway.
And the tourists
And,
want only musicals, we know that.
and it's very,
But I want to tell you something, Tzipi. When COVID started, and all the performing arts, everything was closed, cinemas, theaters, and we thought the world is collapsing on us, our artists. And then they started the Zoom projects. They performed in Zoom
Right,
and they play readings in Zoom. But I never believed in that because camera is not theater.
right.
Um, we are having a live conversation now through camera. But if I were to sit with you in the same room, the conversation would
It's
be
different.
completely different.
Energy.
And if the audience was sitting watching us in the same room, the energy was different. And the theater never lost to camera. When they invented cinema, they thought theater was dead, and it continued living. And then television came, and the theater are still running and still a center of attraction. And then the internet and YouTube and streaming came, but live meeting between an audience and the performing artist is something that you cannot imitate, not
What
by
you need is
hologram.
really to do a good show, a very good
Of
show,
course.
and less
Well, that's
expensive
given. That's
and
given.
smaller.
Less
The theater, the theater experience is much stronger than watching a film. If you go to a bad film, you don't go out of the cinema and say, "Well, I'll never go to the cinema again." But when you are going to a bad
right.
show,
Yeah,
You're
sometimes
angry.
you hear that's it.
Yeah.
I'm finished with theater. I will not go to theater.
right.
Because in the theater, in live performance, the audience is the editor of what he sees. He decides where to focus, where to keep his look, or where to open a wide shot, or where to give a close up. He's editing the
Right,
show as
Yeah.
he watches it, and
right.
this is it takes more energy of
Yeah,
you
it's more
when you.
active.
When you
Alon,
yes.
what are you working on now?
I'm working on an adaptation to a very, very iconic Israeli film to the stage.
Ah,
It's called Charlie Vachetzi.
wow, there is a new trend now. They take all the movies and they put it on the stage. It's a new trend.
Yes, because it's a new trend because Charlie Vachetzi is very Israeli. Everybody knows it. They quote it. And I insisted that we don't put songs in it. I don't want to make it a musical. I wanted to leave it as a comedy about people who are dreaming to go somewhere better,
But do you
to
think the
LA,
audience
New
will not,
York.
most of them in Tel Aviv will not patronize the characters?
If it will be
I,
good, no.
I think the truth catches you. If it's good, it's good. But as I told you before, maybe the television will look above, but people in
Right,
Beersheba,
right.
Ofakim, Kariel,
This is sad.
the rest of the country
It's
will
sad. It's
take it.
almost racist.
It's
Fact.
about it's about it's about racism. The whole film is about Ashkenazi and Sfaradi.
Yeah,
But when it was produced, the Ashkenazis were the stronger
right.
side. And I feel that today the Sephardim, the Mizrahim are the stronger. And it will be very interesting to see how they watch the show when they're the strong side and the Ashkenazis, they always,
Amazing. It's really
they
somebody
get,
should go and make a study. Because I
you know.
claim that a lot of the Sephardic is still feel inferiority.
Absolutely.
My father was Ashkenazi from Poland, and my mother was a Sephardi from Saloniki. So
Well, the Polish side always win. You cannot,
no,
well,
no, Tzipi.
everybody I know, but usually it's a Polish mother. I'm sorry, I don't know about the fathers.
I can
Polish
tell you that
fathers are usually submissive. I'm sorry.
when I see something, my first reaction is Polish. I say, "Oh my God, what will happen?" And then my Greek side said, "It will be okay. Oh, it will be okay." So I have the
You
two
are lucky
sides of it.
because my Sephardic, my Berliner family, side of
Yes,
my my brother, but he married a Sephardic girl,
Girl.
and the Berliners didn't come to the wedding.
No.
oh well, I
Can
think
you believe it?
gradually we are saying goodbye to this behavior because now everybody is with everybody. Even genders are mixed. It's
It's
all
very mixed now.
Well,
Still
yes.
there, but very mixed.
but anyway, what you did in the war, it's really amazing, and I think you still have a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
It's not finished.
Yes. No. No, people in the north can't go back to their homes yet.
They don't
They
want to
don't
go.
feel safe. And people in the south don't have a home to come back to
Right.
because you have to rebuild it.
Right.
Right.
Even in the north, Manara is almost destroyed.
Yeah,
So-
almost
And
every house is
Metula, 80% of the buildings needs to be
rebuilt.
reconstructed.
Yeah.
So yes, we still have a lot of work, and we're
But now
trying to
you meet a
live.
different audience. I think you meet it's a different color. I think I look at people like us, or not know, maybe even you. We are
What do you
more
mean even?
because he is not from those Be'eri kibbutz, and people are more discouraged, are more hopeless,
Desperate,
are more
hopeless. Yes, yes, I
hopeless.
understand. I agree
A
with you.
different
And
audience. I mean, what the fuck are you doing standing there singing song that we loved when the country was what we thought it is? Now we cannot
Maybe
reclaim it back.
that's for the first 10 minutes. Believe me, a
I
good
think that
song
what
performed
happened
well
is
by a singer can make you forget.
once they let it in, they just suck it in.
It takes time in the show to
Yeah.
warm up, to get people leave the reality outside and suddenly give themselves away for the songs. The funny thing that we have an announcement before every show. Please turn off your cell phones and in case not to interrupt the show. In the last shows that I've directed, I specifically came to the show, went on stage as the director, and I tell my audience, I know you can't turn the phone off. I know you have to be in touch with the push from the news or with the sirens from the north or even SMS from your children at home. I know you cannot switch it off, but please make it quiet because I can't ask the people
Right.
to really disconnect.
Every class, I come to the class and I say, I really apologize. I have my cell phone because, and then I tell
Yes,
why,
yes,
and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but
Your
we
life,
still have work.
I believe it. Look,
It's 24/7.
life is stronger than anything. And with everything that is happening in Israel, and I think everywhere in the world, you don't get used to it, but you learn to live with this and the need to push and to create and to do as much as we also hurting what's going on, fighting what's going on. It's all there
But
together
it's
in
a
a mix.
dangerous saying because
You
in
normalize it.
Israel
The
now,
danger of it.
it's possible that the evil forces will take over.
They are.
No, in a real way. And if there is nothing really that we can do, it will last for many
But
years.
we're talking about a few different things. It's all together because we need to do one thing in one hand, and we still want to do other things on another hand. It's not instead of.
She's optimistic.
It's
nice.
But I've learned I've learned during this year. I really stopped directing and moved on back to performing because I want to meet my audience. As a director, you stay at home. You don't go
Right.
with every show you direct. So the last year, I've been performing more than directing, singing and acting in front of people just to meet the people. Going to a show gives you the reason to get in the car and go north or south or east and get out of your house and to give people something.
Yeah.
We are in such a terrible time that you want to give something to people. If it's a song, if it's a food, if it's equipment you want to give. And I think this desire to give will save us at the end. Because when you give, you get.
You get. Absolutely.
So on this happy note,
Alon, thank you.
Thank you for coming. Thank you, Tzili, for sharing your thoughts.
Thank you for hosting me.